So, hi everyone. Hope you're well today. Looking forward to our Dharma chat after our meditations and a little bit of chanting first. So let's do that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Para Samgati Buddhis. Tayata Gati Para Samgati Buddhisoha. Tayata Gati Para Samgati Buddhisoha. I just remind you too, if you want to turn your camera on, you just go down to the bottom left-hand corner, I think second from the left, there's a little picture of a camera, and you just click on that. Okay, there you go. All right, so yeah, we're having to do that now since Zoom updated, I gather. Since we've got the new Zoom ID, I've noticed that I have to do that every week too. Okay, so let's do some meditation. Or actually, before meditation, maybe I say Happy Lunar New Year. Remember, I joke around a little bit and say us Buddhists, we're so lucky we have so many New Years to celebrate. Of course, this one is the lunar, goes by the lunar calendar, as does the Buddhist New Year as well, which runs when the Buddha attained enlightenment, and also the birth of the Buddha, so Vesak Day, full moon of Vesak Day. And so, yeah, I mean, that's goes by the lunar calendar as well, the 4th month, the full moon of the 4th month on the lunar calendar. And of course, now the lunar calendar is switched over to a new one. It's basically celebrated by people in China, Vietnam, Korea, Japan, and some other parts of Asia. And so, but also all around the world these days, of course. And you've got dragons walking through city streets everywhere in the world right now. And so anyway, I say Happy New Year to you again. Of course, we have the solar New Year, which happened about 6 weeks ago now. And so maybe we can find some other ones throughout the year that we can celebrate, as long as we don't age with each one. Age by a year, I mean. So like, for instance, maybe, let's say you are 60, I'm 61, say, for instance. I turned 61 actually last April, but let's say it was January the 1st. So I turned 61. Now I turn 62 on the 10th of February. Oh no, I've aged. In 6 weeks, I've aged a whole year. No, of course it's not like that. As you can see, I'm just making fun of time a little bit. But these moments, once again, I say they are good opportunities for us to improve ourselves, to reflect on what it is we've been up to in the last, say, in this case, the Lunar New Year. Have I been good? Have I been bad? When I've been bad, have I purified the badness, the negative karma that I may have created? Have I improved my awareness, my mindfulness, conscientiousness? Have I got a little bit wiser? Am I more compassionate? Or have I gone backwards and become more selfish? We need to be honest to ourselves. These are great opportunities for us to do that. It's also nice opportunities for people to hang out with like-minded people. Let's say, for instance, you're a Dharma practitioner, you get to go to the temple, spend a bit of time with other Dharma practitioners, or online as we do it here. Maybe we're more COVID safe that way. And so we can, sort of help others as well, our fellow Dharma brothers and sisters to practice well, and be engaged that way as well. Okay, so it's a good opportunity. But once again, I say nothing new and everything new, all at the same time. The new moment arises, but because actually it came from the previous moment, actually it's not new, is it? Just continuation. So now let's forget everything I just said. Nothing new, everything new. Let's practice the nothing new and everything new meditations, okay? So initially, we, of course, will start by releasing the tension, whatever tension we have in the body. So gently close your eyes, lips gently touching. Nice, comfortable position for yourself. Not lazy position too much. Of course, you can lie down if you have a bad back, for instance. It's fine. Just make sure you don't fall asleep. And anyway, so also not a rigid position. I've seen people in the past, want to say, oh, I've got to sit up absolutely straight. And then you look at them, actually, they look so stressed. So it needs to be in the middle path, nice and calm. Not like this, but also not like that. Just in the middle, nice and comfortable for yourself. So bring your mind inside your body, and from the tips of the toes all the way up to your shoulders, then down to the tips of your fingers, and back up to the top of your head. Release the tension. As you focus on the different parts of the body, as you sort of focus on the feet, for instance, you release the tension from there, and so on and so forth. So let's take a few moments to do this now. And now scan your body again, just to see if you can release some more tension, if there's any left over. And when you've done this, bring your mind now initially to the tip of your nose. And we will follow the feeling of the breath. So place your mind on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs, and then back out of your nose again. Try to keep your focus seamlessly on the feeling of the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Don't try to alter the breath, just naturally. Breathing in, breathing out. Don't try to have long breaths or short breaths, just naturally breathing. Maybe I'll mention as well, though, that I think us human beings so often, especially if we get stressed or anxious or worried, we tend to breathe too shallow. So obviously, if you recognize this, then deeper breaths at that time, okay? Calming your mind down. Let go of the past, for when we dwell on the past and hang on to that, gives rise to worry. Let go of thinking about the future, because when we hang on to that, it tends to give rise to anxiety. And realize in this present moment, it's fleeting. So when we say place your mind in the present moment, doesn't mean to cling to the concept of the present moment. Just bring your mind, let it be present. There is no time, just here and now. If you have some distractions while you're focusing on the breath during this meditation, such as thoughts or mental feelings and the like, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. Don't try to force them away either or deny them, but simply let them go naturally by replacing your mind back onto your breath, nice and calmly, peacefully, lightly. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by replacing your mind onto your breath more brightly. Just make that little bit extra effort at that moment. And then once your mind is onto the breath again, nice and bright, nice and clear, then let go of that so-called antidote. You know, the replacing on the breath, for instance. Let go of that replacing on the breath once your mind is placed back on the breath. Otherwise, that becomes a distraction. You can also count from 1 to 10 breaths. 1 in breath, 1 out breath is 1, and so on and so forth. Don't count past 10. If that helps you focus on your breath, that is good to use that technique too. I share with you again that myself, normally, I just place my mind onto the breath, feeling of the breath, and then the sort of like the image of the breath inside the mind. But when we do these Zoom classes, so I have some sort of approximate idea of how long we've been doing the practice for, I count the breaths. Okay? So let's practice like this in silence for a bit. And now we can feel pleased with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. Utilize the visualization technique of filling yourself with infinite bright light, white light, or white nectar if you prefer, or if you prefer, you can just go with the feeling of this universal loving kindness. Fill your whole being with this universal loving kindness. Really feel the friendship you have with yourself, the nice feelings. If you're doubting yourself right now, listening to my words, and then trying to put them into practice, then let go of that doubt, just for the time being. You can contemplate the doubt later. Don't worry about it right now. You are your own best friend. You accept yourself. You forgive yourself for anything that you may have done in the past that may have been unsavory, and vice versa, of course. You rejoice in your goodness, in your merits. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, your family, and your friends. Filling them with the universal loving kindness, wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, and peaceful. And now also include strangers, whether you know them at all, or know them a little, or not at all. Fill them with the universal loving kindness too, and wish that they be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now also include those that you may regard as enemies. Fill them too with the universal loving kindness. May they be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. So now we're extending this loving kindness out further and further. Our radiation of this loving kindness is gathering so much momentum now. It's covering vast distances, initially around your immediate area, to all living beings now, not just people. Those that fly through the air, live in the waters, live on the land, or even under the land. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. Fill them with the universal loving kindness. Wish that all the living beings have happiness, are free from suffering, and are peaceful. And in due course, realize the supreme peace and wisdom and compassion of enlightenment. And now extend the loving kindness out throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And all of the countries throughout the world. You can start initially with those you have an affinity towards, then those that you're indifferent towards, and those you may have some negative feelings towards. And also have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of the oceans and waterways, or bodies of water, until your loving kindness pervades down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And now beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system, and all of the solar systems throughout this galaxy, and all of the galaxies throughout the universe, and beyond. To your loving kindness, this immeasurable, infinite loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space, whilst also being present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I will continue to answer some questions utilizing my book, the quotes therein, and also the explanations of the quotes. And this will cover all of the questions over time. So now I think we're up to, what is it? Quote number 29 out of 50. So like I said, we will complete this, the 50 quotes with the 50 explanations. And then this will cover the questions that were asked, but also even more. And kind of like an introduction in a sense leading into the next major subject as well. We're going to cover some of those teachings as well. All right, so this one here is actually quite long. So what I will do is I will just read the quote to you and then read the explanation and then get back into all of it, okay? So, oh, by the way, these are the reading glasses I use normally. My other ones, which apparently, so I've been told, look cooler, look better, they just fell apart in my hands just before class. So they're now actually in the bin. I've had them since 2016, those ones, they were my first ones I ever had, actually. So that's when I first started to have to utilize them more and more. I think it was about maybe 2012 or 13 when I first had to start to use the 1.5 magnifying reading glasses. So these ones are fairly new, I think. I think Mum got them in the chemist, the pharmacy, maybe a couple of years ago. And they're very light, actually. They're quite comfortable, but I don't know how cool they look. Not that I care. It's the function that I'm interested in. All right. So the benefits of meditation. Benefits of meditation are now widely known, and the practice of meditation has become part of mainstream, or the mainstream, in many places around the world. For instance, in Australia, it has become commonplace for meditation to be practiced at various educational facilities, such as primary schools, high schools, and universities. Also, many medical practitioners encourage their patients to meditate to help the healing process. These are a couple of examples how the practice of meditation has become part of the mainstream. Actually, I'll explain a couple of things here because I think from my memory, I didn't look at it before class, but the explanation actually goes quite in depth. Okay, so I think I'll just look at this really briefly. So you can see that meditation in many areas is being practiced, whether it's practiced accurately, correctly, utilizing the accurate or good techniques, whether it's Buddhist meditation or from other meditation traditions. I'm not sure because I'm not there all the time. But I do know that I've taught it in high schools, or 2 high schools actually, inviting them to temples, also doing it these days online, and also primary schools, some universities as well that I visited. And I do know that some teachers, like for instance in California, even when I was living there all those years ago, there was another Westerner who was a student of my master, and she was a high school teacher. And she used to, before each class, teach meditation. It was a Catholic school, so she actually didn't tell them it was meditation. She just used to get them to focus on their breath before the class to brighten their mind and so forth, okay? So I do know that this is the case. Once again, I don't know what types of meditation are being taught at different places, different times, but at very least, the students are getting the opportunity to calm their mind, because when their mind is calm, they will retain the information that they learn much better, or they at least give themselves the chance to do so. And medical practitioners, I am aware of this, not just in psychology, or you could say the mind sciences, but also other medical practitioners have realized through the research in science and the discoveries within the different sciences that the calm mind, the clear mind, actually really does help the person with the healing process. Because we don't zap, you could say, to utilize layman's terms, we don't zap the energy. away from the healing process. I'll keep it like that, okay? Because if you're worried all the time, if your mind's always distracted, then you are taking the energy, you know, and becoming more confused and so on. So the meditation helps the patients to heal, you could say, or recover. Maybe that's a different word, a better word we can use. So they're just a couple of examples that the meditation has become part of our mainstream culture. There's many more examples that I could give, but I think we can leave it there. Or actually, there's one more, and I am aware of this. Now, even though the intention may be not so great with the different companies, bigger companies, years ago they introduced sort of kind of like meditation to their staff. But they really wanted to increase productivity so they could get bigger profits. That was probably the main reason. But at least the staff got the opportunity to know what these things are. They called it mindfulness training and things like that. So it maybe wasn't exactly the Buddhist mindfulness training, okay, which leads to supreme wisdom eventually. But at very least, they got the opportunity to calm their minds and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's another point to make. The explanation says, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, if every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we will eliminate violence from the world within one generation. And then I add, if the whole world meditated, there would be no wars, only peace. Meditation helps us to get to know our minds, enabling us to be aware of the harmful mental states that we need to relinquish, as well as the beneficial mental states that we need to adopt, nurture, and perfect. It helps us to be more calm, clear, stable, and content, and helps to improve our short and long-term memory. It also helps to enable us to communicate with others and all of nature in a more clear, peaceful, and understanding way. Therefore, the practice of meditation not only benefits the individual practitioner, but also all of the living beings that we come into contact with. Meditation is for the purpose of understanding the true nature of our mind. It reveals the inner psychological world. It penetrates the ordinary, superficial perception that obscures the nature of reality. With meditation, you can understand the reality of self and other phenomena. For if you understand your own mind, you will understand everything. Without meditation, we cannot realize the truth, for the mind will remain clouded with disturbing thoughts and emotions, and will become more and more confused and deluded over time. So the whole purpose of meditation is to lessen the deluded afflictions of our mind and eventually eradicate them from the very roots. Meditation makes the mind sharper, stronger, and clearer, enabling us to solve our own problems more skillfully, as well as being able to call on the power of our mind to make profound changes in our life. We will become healthier and happier, for it has been proven that there is a strong relationship between meditation and physical and psychological well-being. It is only through engaging in the practice of meditation that we can transform our limited powers of concentration into extraordinary, unlimited powers of concentration. So as mentioned before, I go into quite in-depth in that one, in this explanation. So I'll go through it a little bit, okay? Even if this is the only one we look at today. So yes, His Holiness, it's a very famous quote from him. And he says that if every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we will eliminate violence from the world within one generation. Now, whether this is 100% accurate or not, doesn't matter. I think the point is poignant. The point is the important part here. If beings can learn from a very young age to meditate, to calm their mind, to even like learn some contemplation meditation, like for instance, contemplate if they get angry, contemplate if they harm, or the downfalls, you could say, of harming or anger or hatred and things like that. And so these 8-year-olds can then turn into a 9-year-old that has 1 year experience of meditating, then a 10-year-old with 2 years, and so on, okay? So the point is really important. Violence, there is a lot of violence in the world. Right now, around us, there is violence. Of course, we're talking about people with the meditating. So let's not bring to mind the animals and insects right now, okay? Just people. So I don't know how many people there are in the world. Is it 7 billion now, or up to 8 billion even? But there are many, many beings, many people. And unfortunately, a lot of them are engaging in harmful activities, even if they don't know about it, even if it's not really their intention to be harmful. The hunting, things like that. But also the competition between living beings, even in things like businesses and stuff like that. Governments are always competing. This is actually harmful activities. So if they can all learn to meditate, especially young, then we can have the better opportunity to not have this violence within our communities, okay? And my point is wrapping up that paragraph there is, if the whole world meditated, there would be no wars, only peace. Eventually, that would be the case. But of course, this world is what the Buddha called Saha world. It's a turbulent world. So things are, as mentioned, I think last week, things are exactly as they should be, really, when it relates to the relational and the related aspects of karma, of the actions that we create with our mind, with our body, with our speech, and then the effects that we experience. Excuse me. So basically, I'll go on from there. I think that's easy to understand, at least on the surface. So meditation helps us to get to know our minds. It really is, because we stop all of this outside activity, We stop distracting ourselves with outside things, even if they're good for us. We bring our mind inside, and then we got to start to look at our mind and really get to know ourselves, okay, and our nature, eventually our true nature, enabling us to be more aware of the harmful mental states that we need to relinquish, as well as the beneficial mental states that we need to adopt, nurture, and perfect. So we get the opportunity to see our faults, rather than picking on things and other beings outside of ourselves. We get the opportunity to see our own faults and therefore have the opportunity to relinquish them, to purify our minds of these faults, turn them into the good qualities. We also get the opportunity to have a look at our good qualities and rejoice in them, and realize we have done such a good effort, made such a good effort so far to get these good qualities and to nurture them, to increase them, and continue to do so. And remember that these good qualities, in one way or another, are actually antidotes for the faults. So by getting to know both of them, the good qualities and the faults, very helpful for us. And then, of course, then we can have the opportunity to study the Dharma techniques, methods, and put into practice, and actually accurately as well, And it helps us to be more calm, clear, stable, and content, which we've spoken about in previous classes, having the stable mind, the flexible mind, the clear mind, and helps to improve our short and long-term memory. This is fact. The fact is that we forget things sometimes. How many times have you walked into a room to get something, and whether it's important or not, and then gone into that room and thought, what did I come in here for? But that's okay. No problem. You have more of a clear mind, that will happen less. But really what I'm talking about here with the memory is to be able to remember the Buddha's teachings, be able to remember that the important things that you need to remember, the essential things that you need to remember. For instance, to be moral, to practice meditation, and so on, okay? It also helps to enable us to communicate with others, all of nature, more peaceful and understanding way. Okay, so that's very obvious, I think, and I mentioned it in previous classes. Therefore, the practice of meditation not only benefits the individual practitioner, but other living beings, because we will calm our mind and we will also exude this sort of friendliness and openness, welcomeness, that's not really a word, but towards others, okay? Making them feel safe and secure around us. Meditation is for the purpose of understanding the true nature of the mind. So we go deeper and deeper into the meditation and utilize our abilities to investigate and analyze things to eventually develop the genuine insight into the nature of reality. It reveals the inner psychological world. It penetrates the ordinary, superficial perception that obscures the nature of reality. So go beyond all of this conceptual thinking, this dualistic way of thinking. With meditation, you can understand the reality of self and other phenomena. And therefore we're able to clear away what we call the two obscurations of the attachment to self, or the belief in self and the belief in the self of other phenomena. For if you understand your own mind, you will understand everything. Mind only, Purify your mind, everything becomes pure. Everything's like a pure land. Without meditation, we cannot realize the truth, for the mind will remain clouded with disturbing emotions or thoughts and emotions, and will become more and more confused and deluded over time, because we will continually reinforce the negative habits, the distracted habits, and so on. So the whole purpose of meditation is to lessen our deluded afflictions of our mind and eventually eradicate them. That's really important to know that, okay? Important to know the purpose of the practice, and then the methods to be put into practice, and then put the methods into practice. Meditation makes the mind sharper, stronger, and clearer. I think we've got 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, enabling us to solve our own problems more skillfully, as well as being able to call on the power of our mind to make profound changes in our life. Realize, first of all mentally, but then start to live with the way, let's say, for instance, you get a glimpse of the really subtle aspects of impermanence. This will help your life immensely. You'll be less attached to things, have less aversion, so on, okay? Chipping away, at the mental afflictions. We will become healthier and happier. I've already read that through to you. It is only through engaging in the practice of meditation that we can transform our limited powers of concentration into extraordinary, unlimited powers of concentration. You are extraordinary, and you have the abilities to realize this. Okay? So I rejoice in your goodness, really encourage you to study, practice, share the Dharma to the best of your abilities.